stop tampering with the spell.
Oh my God, Ned, he's my best friend. Oh, my Aunt May should really know.
Stop talking!
What just happened?
Today is December 16th, 2021, and this is the release date for Spider-Man No Way Home. I was lucky enough to stay up until 12:01 a.m. on November 29th. To get tickets, I got them dead center in the back row of the movie theater. This was one of the best movie theater experiences I've ever had, if not the best. Not because of the movie, just because everybody else in the theater was there to watch the movie. There was not any little kids there running around. There was not anyone being loud. There wasn't anybody on their phone. Just everybody enjoying the movie, and that is a great movie experience. So, the story of this movie is that before Mysterio died, before he was killed by Tony Stark's drones, or Stark Industries drones, he recorded a video and said Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and that was released, and Peter is now in trouble because everybody thinks he killed Mysterio with malicious intent instead of trying to save him. So that is the main story of the movie. And it's interesting because you don't get a lot of Marvel movies that have these kind of stories, that have it from an outsider's perspective. And I really like that Marvel movies more are starting to do that. Like with Hawkeye, you had the little girl during the Battle of New York. You had people in WandaVision and in Falcon and Winter Soldier during the blip and how that impacted them. So I really like these stories on people we don't see at the time of the actual movie, like Endgame, but later on we're getting these stories in their perspective, not just the superheroes. And in Spider-Man, we definitely get that. So another thing that I noticed right away is that J. Jonah Jameson is in this a lot. And if you don't know who he is, he's the guy with the mustache, the Daily Bugle reporter. He is in this a lot. And, of course, he is always out to get Spider-Man for some reason. He wants to make Spider-Man look bad. It's an interesting take on the media. I'm not going to get political at all. That's not what I'm trying to push out there. But in this day and age where there is a lot of... You can present a news story as one way when it's not, or present information one way when it's not, and it's very easy to do so, and you can persuade your reader to think one way when that is not the correct way of thinking. So that was a little detail that I liked. The first half of the movie, before we got all the villains, really everything, not everything, but almost everything before the bridge scene was all things in the trailer. So, I mean, you gotta have a trailer, you gotta have movie footage in that trailer. And the movie itself was just so good. And I have many things to say. Many good things to say. Almost nothing bad. But this is how I judge a movie if it's good or not. If I'm bored through half of the movie and the second half is very entertaining, or the second half of the movie is very boring and the first half is entertaining, that's how I judge it. During this movie, I was not bored at all. I was on the edge of my seat throughout the entire time. I was clapping with everybody else in my theater when big events happened in the movie. And we'll get to those big events later. I was, in tears when sad things were happening during the movie because there are some sad things in this movie, just like the comics and the other other Spider-Man movie. Because the other Spider-Man is not a feel-good story. It's really not. You know, Uncle Ben dies, who is a mentor to Spider-Man. In Marvel, Tony Stark dies, which is a mentor to Spider-Man. So, in Marvel, Peter Parker, MCU, Peter Parker doesn't even know his parents. We never get introduced to Uncle Ben or his parents. So, that is kind of tragic. And it's presented in this movie that every Spider-Man has some sort of tragedy in his life and how he can overcome that. I want to put this out there right now. If you have not seen Spider-Man No Way Home, please exit off of this video because there is spoilers in this video and I want every single person to not have the movie spoiled for them. So I'm just putting it out there right now. If you've already seen the movie and you just want my opinions on things, keep watching by all means. But if you have not seen the movie and you do not want spoilers, even if you do want spoilers, please click off this movie. I do not want to be the guy on YouTube and on Twitter leaking things. So please, fair warning. Peter Parker and his friends are in legal trouble along with Aunt May and Happy. So there's a little mark on his record and he is trying to go into college with his friends. And of course that is not going to happen because colleges look at that record, see what's going on right now, and will not accept him. And that's also true with real life things. There's controversy and people may get fired. They might not get accepted into school. Their lives change. And for this, his life was being changed for the wrong reason. But his life was still being changed. So he goes to Doctor Strange, and this is all in the trailer. He goes to Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange, in the trailer, happily creates the spell that Peter messes up. In the actual movie, Doctor Strange is hesitant. He is not like, sure, Peter, I'll make this curse or spell that will potentially change the universe. He states that this spell always works. Of course, Peter messes it up by saying too many things, and every person that knows Peter Parker in alternate universes are brought to this universe, like Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, Sandman, Lizard, the Rhinoceros Man later in the movie. Just a whole bunch of Spider-Man characters are brought later in the movie. Because there's an opening in the timeline, and when Doctor Strange is trying to put the final spell to bring everybody back. And of course, yes, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in this movie. I can confirm it to you with my own eyes. So they are brought to this universe as well, along with, I'm not going to say that yet. So Doctor Strange makes this spell and everybody comes to the universe. And the reason that we are on a bridge where we meet Dr. Octopus is because Peter is trying to go to the dean of or a representative of the school that he is trying to get his friends into and persuade her. And he saves her because she is getting attacked by Doc Ock. And she says, you know, I will put in a good word for you. Which that doesn't matter later in the movie because later in the movie events happen where they don't need to do that. So, we meet Doc Ock. We meet... Who else do we meet in that scene? We meet Doc Ock, we meet Green Goblin, of course, and we meet Lizard. The Lizard. Who is in The Amazing Spider-Man, if you don't know. And Doc Ock and Green Goblin are in Spider-Man... Green Goblin is in Spider-Man 1, Doc Ock is in Spider-Man 2. Peter is sent by Doctor Strange to find the other, I'm gonna call them variants, because that's kind of what they are. Not really, but to find the other villains. And he's given Doctor Strange power. And I forget what it's called right now, sorry. And he uses it to bring them back. So we meet Sandman and Electro. And Electro throughout this whole movie is evil. Other villains turn good later in the movie, Electro, I would say, is the main villain in this movie. He wants power, he gets power, and he is not satisfied with the power that he has in the other universe, so he wants more power in this one. So, Sandman helps Peter, because in Spider-Man 3, Sandman realizes that he was wrong for killing Uncle Ben, and he feels guilty for it, so he starts kind of helping Peter a little bit, but not really, because he gets killed right away. So, in this, he helps Peter, and I was a little confused to the Sandman thing, because I thought it was not Thomas Hayden Church. I thought that there was a reason that they kept him in the CGI sand form throughout the whole time. Until the end, when they show him and he is Thomas Hayden Church. So I was a little bit like, it sounds like him. But all of these villains have something for Peter to save, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to help these villains. Doctor Strange doesn't, of course. He wants to send them all back. But Peter wants to help them. And he does, because at the end of the movie, everyone is fixed. So that's a very good message, even though it can, but even if it can't be applied in the real world, it's still good character development. It's still good character traits. And I guess it can be applied in the real world, because you look at these criminals, you look at these people that rob banks, there's a motive behind it. They may be trying to feed their family or steal for their family, and it's wrong. It's very wrong. If find another way to protect your family, please. Like, don't go out robbing banks because you need, or stealing food because you need to feed your family. Please, find another way. I'm not defending criminals at all. Like, that's not what my intentions are here. But, I think you guys know what I'm trying to say, is that there's two sides to most stories. So, at this point in the story, there is a big spoiler, and I don't even want to mention it, because let's just say it's very sad. I'm just going to leave it at that. I do not want to spoil. I don't even have it written down. Now, I don't want to spoil it. This leaked months ago, and I think it's just a common fact now, and they will release this at some point in the, when the DVD comes out. They'll probably be on the cover, but Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in this movie, and they're great. I was jumping up and down in my seat when they came onto the screen for the first time. I was ecstatic, because honestly, I've been looking forward to this movie ever since the initial reports last year of the cast were being released. So, seeing all three Spider-Man on the movie screen is amazing for a Spider-Man fan like me. So, of course, there's a big battle at the end, and all three Spider-Man fight, and they win, and actually Dr. Octopus helps them. Now that we're done dissecting the plot, I knew this video would be very long, but now we're done dissecting the plot. I haven't even gotten to what I like about the movie yet. So, there's a lot to like about this movie. Let's start with the fan service. The fan service is done tastefully and done right. It's not thrown in your face like a lot of these kind of movies do. There were here and there were little things that the character says, like Tobey Maguire says about his back. If you don't know the meme, my back, it's funny. Osborn says this, and I'm not kidding. So that was pretty funny. I thought at one point we were gonna get a Spider-Man dancing to James Brown reference, but we did not, unfortunately. That would have been really funny if that was an end credits scene, but we did not, unfortunately. So the fan service in this was spectacular, just like all Marvel movies. All Marvel movies are really good with callbacks to other movies, or callbacks to characters. The actors in Marvel movies are fantastic, so the characters are going to be amazing always, including this. I thought the character development is fantastic, is excellent, especially for Spider-Man. He keeps growing in every single movie he's in. Spider-Man Homecoming, he was a teenager just learning and being really taught by Tony Stark. Far From Home is after Tony's death, so he needs to cope with that and realize that he needs to be someone new. And in this, he loses another loved one that's very close to him. And just like every Spider-Man comic, he needs to learn to control his anger and not take it out on others. And he is about to when the other Spider-Men stop him. So, the character development for Spider-Man, Peter Parker in particular, is interesting. But it's done very, very, very well. Doctor Strange in this is honestly just setting up for Multiverse of Madness. I think that's how he is going to control the multiverse, how he is going to probably go up against Wanda. Wanda is probably going to be the villain in that. So how he is going to battle how the multiverse is broken thanks to people like Peter Parker and Wanda and Loki. This movie really sets up Doctor Strange for that. And all the other characters, Ned, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, MJ, they're all really good too. The characters and character development and character traits for all these characters are exceptional. As a Spider-Man fan, a hardcore Spider-Man fan, Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. This movie was almost perfect. I would probably say it is perfect. It is the best Spider-Man movie of all time, not just Tom Holland's Spider-Man. It's hard. I can't compare it to Into the Spider-Verse because it's completely different. It's like comparing apples to oranges. Into the Spider-Verse was something that we never seen before. Into the Spider-Verse was completely different, and it set up the current Marvel Phase 4. It really did, because everything has to do about time. Almost everything, I should say, the good Marvel movies in Phase 4 have something to do with time, and they're all about the space-time continuum. And in this, it's just epic with all the characters coming into one movie. It's almost like a second Endgame. But I would argue Endgame is better than this just because there are more characters that, dare say it, we are familiar with. No Way Home is going to go down as probably, as it stands now, as it stands in my personal rankings, the second greatest Marvel movie of all time. I didn't even get into what was powerful about it. There was a death in the movie, and I don't want to say who, but it was towards the middle of the movie, and it will change Peter's character. And that was part of his character development, his character growth in this movie. Before they pass away, they say the line, "With great power comes great responsibility." And that line is an iconic Marvel line. And I'm so glad that it is now part of the MCU. Very quickly, the end credit scene. If you saw Venom, you know this end credit scene. Eddie Brock is in this end credit scene. And he was brought to this universe because in the spell works like this. Everybody that knows Peter Parker as Spider-Man is brought to this universe. Eddie Brock knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. At the end of the movie, when all the villains, all the people that came from, including the two Spider-Man, and everybody that came from the alternate universes go back to their alternate universe. So Eddie Brock disappears, but the camera pans down to a little tiny symbiote. So that means Venom is now going to be in the MCU, or the black suit Spider-Man is going to be in the MCU. And that makes me ecstatic, because I love Venom. I do not like the Venom movies very much, but I love Venom, and I love the black suit Spider-Man, because Spider-Man 3 is one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. And there are 2 end credits scenes in Spider-Man No Way Home. One in the middle of the credits, and the one at the very end of the credits, and it is a trailer for Multiverse of Madness. And this will probably be released on YouTube at some point. And they did something really cool, which I haven't seen them do in a while. It's really old school Marvel. At the very end, they said Doctor Strange will return. So, with all that being said, No Way Home, I of course give it 10 out of 10. I knew I would, and here it is. No Way Home for me is a 10 out of 10. Yes, a 10 out of 10. Love it. Loved it. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this review. Anyway, let me know what you think of this movie in the comments below. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Have a magical day, everybody.